right, welcome back. Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop, 92.7 WMAY. Springfield's News and Talk. Now 6:40, about 61 degrees. Beautiful day today, but temperature's going to drop heading into the weekend. Tomorrow's Veterans Day, so we're looking at some possible rain showers early, but it should clear out for the parade downtown Springfield on Capitol Avenue. I believe that kicks off at around 10, so make plans to get down there tomorrow. Let's talk about President and who's going to be the next person to throw their hat in the ring. I know we just got done with an election. The midterm election was Tuesday. Still letting all the dust settle there, but we're anticipating that former President Donald Trump is going to announce that he's formally going to make a bid for president. He expected to make that speech next week sometime. But there's also now speculation of who else could possibly toss their hat into the ring. You've heard about Ron DeSantis, and if that's possibly going to be somebody from Florida who just had a pretty commanding victory in that state for reelection to governor. But you're also hearing president possibility for Governor J.B. Pritzker. He just won decidedly here in Illinois, a re-election campaign. But could he toss his hat in the ring if now President Joe Biden doesn't seek re-election? Biden has said he intends to run. We just heard him say in a clip last segment about how he's going to ultimately make that decision possibly early next year, but that's something that he intends to do. But what about here in Illinois? Governor J.B. Pritzker, again, giving a speech yesterday, just a brief one before opening it up to take questions. And he was asked this question multiple times. But it was interesting. The governor came out with Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton. Pritzker made his comments about the election, and then he opened it up for Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton to share her thoughts on winning another 4 years as lieutenant governor. So here's how she kind of laid out what her thoughts are, again, of another 4 years.
Good morning. I'm Juliana Stratton. I use she, her pronouns. And thank you, Governor Pritzker, for that warm introduction and for your unwavering leadership. We have the choice to stand on the right side of history, and I echo your remarks when I say we will stay true to that path. I'm proud to serve alongside you to show that leadership means putting the people of Illinois first. We recognize we move forward when we all have the tools, resources, and support to take that next step. I'm excited to continue working for and with the people in communities across Illinois that are urban and rural, and all of which makes our state so vibrant. We'll continue the work by continuing to bring sustained investment in communities that were for too long disinvested. We'll push forward by protecting women's rights and committing to gender equity. We'll maintain a vision that includes every Illinoisan of just and equitable opportunities in employment, education, housing, and other areas that impact our lives. As I close, thank you to all who exercised their right to vote and voted in this election. No matter your vote, we work together to protect democracy. And I look forward to working with you to take the next step during our second term. With that, I'll pass it back to the governor to answer some questions.
Again, that's Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, who, if the governor was to announce he's going to run for president in 2024 and actually is successful in that bid, then it would be Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton who would come in and fill the position. So it would be interesting to see how much more of Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton we see in the next couple of years here. And again, we're all it's pure speculation. The governor's denied this up and down, but he was asked about it multiple times yesterday whether he's going to run for president, in particular because he spent $145 million to get the job he's just got reelected to just since 2021. I think the total number is like $320 million in total since he ran in 2018. So that's a lot of money. And Marianne Ahern out of Chicago asked a pretty direct question, I think was kind of interesting. We'll hear the question and the governor's response to it, and then multiple other responses to different questions from different reporters yesterday during a news conference from Governor J.B. Pritzker in Chicago.
And as for that presidential run, how much time do you have to think about it before you make that decision?
I am not focused on that at all. I am focused on serving as governor for the next 4 years. It's really the most important thing to me is we have a lot of challenges that Illinois needs to overcome. We've got to work hard on it, and I'll be doing that. I commit to you that I'm planning to be the governor for the next 4 years. We have too many things that we need to accomplish for the state. I think we all know, what that list is, or at least you all have a pretty good idea what that list is, and we're going to continue to do it.
So there's no group behind the scene, because commit to you planning to be governor will be dissected. It's sort of like the definition.
I don't know what.
So there's nobody behind the scenes of your campaign team that
No, there was some story that I think appeared, and I think you tweeted it about I guess Reuters put it out, saying there were some number of people on the national level who were talking to staff. That's absolutely untrue. I have not talked to any staff outside of my own staff, and so no, like I said, there's no plan to do anything other than be governor for the next 4 years.
So again, Governor J.B. Pritzker denying any supposition that he's going to seek to get the White House and run in a Democratic primary for president in 2024 if President Joe Biden doesn't actually run again. So we'll watch that space closely, but just kind of fascinating to hear the governor's response. Again, you heard he commits to planning on being governor for 4 years. That's going to be dissected. But if he spent $150 million this year to get elected, if he's spent $330 million or some odd dollars so far in his political career as running for governor and getting the office again, how much is he willing to spend on a possible presidential bid? But the governor just brushing those questions to the side. Also, a little interesting clip here. The governor shared what it was like in the phone call between himself and Republican challenger Darren Bailey from Tuesday night, when Bailey said that he called the governor and congratulated him. Here's what the governor had to say the conversation was like.
He said very few words. I got on the phone. He said, I said, Senator Bailey, he said, Governor, I want to congratulate you. And I said, well, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. And he said, okay, then. That was it. That's the entire call.
Tell us about your call.
So again, Governor J.B. Pritzker there answering a question about his phone call with Darren Bailey, who conceded, but said, they're still holding out for a miracle. I don't know what that miracle is going to be, but I guess we'll keep our eyes open. Stay tuned. Much more coming up. The governor asked a series of questions ranging from his goals in the near and distant future, but also his reaction to bipartisanship and as well as the makeup of the Illinois legislature now continuing with supermajorities when the new General Assembly is seated. All right, back with Springfield's Morning News, and let's talk about the makeup of the Illinois state legislature. It's got supermajorities in both chambers already, and it's going to maintain supermajorities in both chambers in the new General Assembly that's going to be seated mid-January. Now, we've still got fall veto session to get through, and we'll tackle that early next hour, so stay tuned. But I did want to just kind of touch on some of the sentiments this far into the process while we still wait for the votes to be certified. But all indication is that you are indeed going to see a Democrat supermajority in both the House and Senate. Now, Governor J.B. Pritzker talking about bipartisanship, we'll hear him talk about some he's not willing to work with. So stay tuned for that as well. But State Representative LaShawn Ford, he shared some thoughts about the outcome of the election and what he sees voters ultimately voted for whenever they headed to the polls.
And make sure that we take care of some of the toughest problems and deal with the crime, to deal with the inflation, and to deal with the drug problems that we're experiencing in the state. It's not enough to win. I think that the people voted for good government and government that's going to be for the people.
And again, LaShawn Ford from Chicago saying that voters voted for people that will step up and represent them. And he also talked about working with the Republicans, and Republicans, he hopes, have learned a lesson by being a super minority.
The Republicans now will see from experience dealing with a majority party control that it's better to come to the table and not be obstructionists, but to come to the table and to uphold their vows or their oath of office.
So, again, LaShawn Ford, Democrat from Chicago, looking to work with Republicans, but, it's for them to have to come to the table and work with the supermajority. But the Senate President, Don Harmon, saying that the people have spoken. It's time to get to work. You've got House Majority with Democrats and House Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch also looking forward to an agenda of helping people, they say, and they're willing to work with Republicans. But even Governor J.B. Pritzker saying that he's willing to work with Republicans as well in the new General Assembly with the legislature. And here's what he had to say, though. He's not willing to necessarily tolerate, and that's an extreme wing of the Republican Party, he says.
The Republican Party has gone so far off the rails now that they don't represent the majority of people in the state of Illinois. In fact, they've become a super minority party representing a super minority of people in Illinois, even though they control that the super minority of Republicans control the Republican Party. So I implore them to change. I also have always reached out, literally from before I was elected the first time, to the Republicans in the General Assembly to work with them, and we've gotten a lot done.
So again, Governor J.B. Pritzker saying that he's willing to work with Republicans. And they have gotten various bipartisan bills passed, including the doubling of the state's gas tax, increasing, various other fees for drivers, and that was all to pay for a capital construction bill, expanding gambling, part of that as well. That was a massive bill in 2019. But you also had the various other things early on in Pritzker's administration, a budget that had some bipartisan input first time. But then what happened was you had Republicans critical of the governor's unilateral approach to COVID-19 and how he issued orders and edicts and mandates and limited economic activity and had schools suspend in-person education for months. So this was obviously a pretty contentious past 3 years, which seems to have really even further polarized things. So regardless of the makeup of the General Assembly, the Republican Senate caucus did have at least one gain. Again, the dust is yet to settle, but Dan McConkey, he's the Senate Republican leader. He said that he's looking for more support, but that wasn't possible because of what he called a rigged system of gerrymandered maps. And this has all led also to not really that great of a night for House Republicans. Jim Durkin, House Minority Leader, announced he's not going to seek another leadership position. So this is all, of course, developing as we rapidly approach a new General Assembly that'll be seated in mid-January. But before that, we've got fall veto session and what's considered lame duck session in early January for the current General Assembly. What are they going to tackle when they come back as early as next week? Well, we'll delve into that as well. It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMA.